who'd locked her away in her old room above the kitchen, and that she likely wasn't even aware that Anja had left Portofino. Frank found her story more than a little implausible. Anja was more likely to drug her mother's chamomile tea and run as quickly as she could down Via del Fondaco than Bitte was to let her out of her sight. They'd learn the truth sooner or later. When they introduced Anja to Paul and Ahmed as the runaway, she didn't quibble with the description. They smoked some kiff in their living room, sprawled out on pillows, and she fell instantly asleep. Frank carried her up the stairs, and for the second time in their short association tucked her into a bed they'd provided for her. He unpacked her suitcase, as much to snoop as to help her feel at home. She'd brought cotton dresses in faded flowered prints, none of them white, some silver jewelry, an English Baedeker guide to Rome and central Italy published in the 30s, heavily annotated in a faded language he assumed was Swedish, a small zippered bag of cosmetics and tonics, undergarments, stockings, and 2 pairs of shoes, and her passport. In the passport photo, her hair was boyishly short, her expression haunted and hard, her lips a thin line with a distant smile behind it. Her place of birth was listed as Malmö, her date of birth as June 2nd, 1936. Frank did the calculations twice, both times in disbelief. 2 months ago she had turned 17. His experience with women had led him to assume that most were a few years older than their stated age. Still, the fact that Anja was 5 years younger, and little more than a child, filled him with fear. Suddenly the fisherman was in the room beside him, and the boys from Testa del Lupo. Suddenly Anja was walking out of the water at Paraggi in her transparent suit. Watching her sleep, a rush of tenderness, an urge to protect her, dissolved his fear, and the men vanished. And it occurred to him then, as he quickly and quietly reassembled her suitcase so as not to let on what he knew, that maybe Ten wasn't so certain that Anja would make a great actress after all. Maybe he was so accommodating of her, so willing to give her a role in the little drama of their lives, because she gave Frank something to do. With Anja for a project he'd spend less time, or no time at all, with Alvaro. The next morning they took her shopping on Via Condotti. The clothes she'd brought from Portofino were not flattering enough to meet Luchino Visconti later that afternoon, and Anna Magnani as soon as possible afterward. In fact, Anja seemed to have packed her frumpiest frocks, as if she expected to audition for the role of milkmaid or housekeeper. Frank found her a sleeveless sundress with black and white polka dots splashed with pink roses, which the saleswoman at Gandolfo claimed was inspired by a painting by Renoir. The dress made Anja look slightly older, in her early 20s at least, especially with her hair pulled back, as the saleswoman suggested. Frank had yet to tell Ten about the passport, and he wasn't sure he ever would. Keeping secrets from him gave Frank a charge. Anja didn't hesitate to allow Ten to pay for her dresses. She never promised, "One day I'll pay you back for your many kindnesses." She took everything they offered her, the bed in the apartment, the morning coffee and cornetti Frank had brought back from the bakery down the block, Ahmed's rapidly dwindling kiff, with the uncomplicated joy of feeling as though she deserved them. For this, Frank envied her. He kept a running tally in his mind of every penny Ten had spent on him, every Key West utility bill paid out of the account he rarely checked, all the shirts and ties and cufflinks purchased for parties on 3 continents. He accepted these only because he had the sincere intention to earn back the thousands of dollars they cost. For her visit to the Senso set, which on this day was the blocked-off Vicolo del Cedro in Trastevere, Anja wore a simple butter-yellow shift dress. The 3 of them watched from the sidewalk, afraid to disturb the great Visconti, even though he was expecting them and had agreed eagerly to give Anja the once-over. Visconti had no part for her in this already bloated production, he said over the phone, not even a small one. He was up to his neck in Austrians as it was. But there was always the next film, whatever it might be, or the film after that. Alida Valli was proving satisfactory as Livia, but Ingrid Bergman had been his first choice, and Alida Valli was no Ingrid Bergman. Though born a baronessa, Valli had a bohemian beauty ill-suited to the lavishness and decadence, the wantonness that Visconti wanted for Senso. and that he could have gotten out of Bergman if she'd given him a chance. 10 had held the phone up so Frank could hear the man rant. "It is easier to find love than it is to find a muse."